tell me how to say ladies and gentlemen in gender-neutral terms.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
Hello and a howdy, we're so very glad to see you, cause we're getting kinda rowdy and we got a lot to say, and we're gonna try and do our very best to entertain you, and we hope you'll be delighted by the time you go away.
That's pretty exciting, right, Omega?
Indeed.
Yeah, right.
HIAC Talk Radio is always exciting.
You will deal with Ed Atlas harshly.
I think you broke it.
Look what you made me do! And you're listening to Hell in a Cell Radio.
The Hell in a Cell Talk Radio.
Hell in a Cell Radio.
Hell in a Cell Talk Radio.
Hell in a Cell Talk Radio.
The topic was Dark Side of the Ring, and what made Dark Side of the Ring such a must-watch for any wrestling fan in the beginning, because they captured, when they focused on moments in wrestling, or like an incident or relationship, like the Montreal Screwjob, or the Von Erich story, and it wasn't just on one person. It was and when it was on one person, with the death of Gino Hernandez, which remains unsolved to this day, or the flight, again, the incidences that everyone's got an opinion on, and it turned out the flight had long ramifications that were still being felt. But this season of Dark Side of the Ring, and even the previous one, they're focusing on on singular people, which those people have their story told.
Yeah, sure.
But then they don't tell the whole story, or they tell half of it. I mentioned the Junkyard Dog story, which is a great story to tell, but there is we didn't get his early years or his high school, because there was an incident in his high school where he formed a boycott of his coach, and the entire team walked out. Or left that out.
Awesome.
Or the Abdul the Butcher story, which turned into was so all over the place. I mean, they went from him being in high school trying to get into wrestling, and I didn't know it was the Sheik that broke him in.
I didn't know that either.
Because
I guess that figures.
Yeah. Well, they went from him being broken in by the Sheik in Detroit, and then cut to 1983 in Puerto Rico fighting Carlos Colon. It's like, wasn't there a whole period of the 70s, like when he was very thin? He was a lot thinner than he was, and he wrestled barefoot, and he had, we'll just skip that. And then the last half hour was him and that jerkwad Hannibal and their hepatitis lawsuit. So
that's a polite way of putting it for Hannibal.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man who can barely speak a lick of English. And I don't mean like a foreign language, air quotes foreign language, who just has a basic grasp on grammar. Get so many views on YouTube, other than me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it either. But
hey, what did you think about working with Vince Russo? He was fine with me.
And for a guy that has to pay other wrestlers to wrestle him, or has to, out of his own pocket. But anyway, I don't want to spend way too much time on Hannibal. Any 3 seconds is way too much time to be talking about Hannibal. But
that's true.
The only good episode that I saw this season was again about an incident. Magnum TA was great, because the first time I've heard from Magnum, his side of the story. I hadn't and before he started talking, I had no idea what happened in his car accident that ended his career, that potentially could have killed him. But the way he talked about it, it's like, wow, 30 years. I never even heard that story before from him.
Was he getting roadhead? Is it the old roadhead adage?
No.
I'm totally being sarcastic. Don't tell me, I will see it.
No, yeah, you will see it. But he'll get to, but this past last week's, the season finale, as we're recording it, is tonight, where the episode will be The World According to Marty Jannetty, which again is we're talking about character, and he's definitely a character, but I don't know how much they'll put in, how much they'll leave out. The episode before was Bam Bam Bigelow. Again, fascinating. A guy that had a story in itself. Bounty hunter, started his wrestling career in Studio 54, promoted by Paul Heyman in 1985. And just seeing pictures of him with hair, that is worth it alone.
Oh yeah.
But
that's a lot.
Yeah. And again, where they shine is when they talk about an incident or something that happened. And the episode that you saw that we're going to talk about still lives on. I thought that could have been a first or second season. Was Bash at the Beach 2000. Pivotal moment. Some even call that was the beginning of the end of WCW as we know it.
I have a hot take.
Hit it.
I'm gonna start this with a hot take.
Okay.
That was worse than the finger poke.
Yeah. Why?
Miles away. Because this is just my logic here.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back retrospectively, that is a well-planned angle.
Yes.
The finger poke is.
Mm-hmm.
This is not by any stretch. And we'll get into that in a second. I will argue, and against all the WrestleCrap, and I have nothing bad to say against the WrestleCrap guys. That website was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is still amazing. I think it's more of just recycling archived articles. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I just think they've covered everything. But they wrote a book about that finger poke. It was, I will argue and die on that hill. And this is coming from someone who spent time rewatching it within the last couple of years on the network or whatever we're calling it. You can see that being sprinkled with that throughout leading up to it. Literally we're going to reset Goldberg. We're going to reset the heel machine and throw it at him.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a good idea or not is not the argument.
No.
And I will, call me a Nash simp, and that's fine. I am. I like Kevin.
Yeah.
I agree with him on that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me, and he wasn't even booking yet. He wasn't even booking yet.
He wasn't even there.
I wasn't even there. So you're telling me that I booked myself over to win the title on Goldberg, and then a week later or two, I booked myself to get poked by Hogan and lose. Boy, do I look strong. So I think comparatively, finger poke, not as damaging as, and there's a second reason, not as damaging as Bash at the Beach 2000. Also compound the fact that you have Vince and Ed Ferrara getting hired, and then less than 3 months later getting kicked the fuck out. And then I didn't even know the sequence anymore of who was in charge again.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vince and Eric Bischoff being put together. And that, like, you have all of this that is already steamrolled after the incident that killed WCW, which was the finger poke. Like, this is, and I said on the episode, someone said, I think Jericho during the narration was, this is like a Titanic. No, it was Meltzer, that big ear goof, saying, this is like the Titanic headed for the iceberg. Sir, at that point, WCW already hit that iceberg.
They
man.
have been taken in water for many, many months.
They are loading out lifeboats and trying to get the fuck out at that point. That's Jericho, the Radicals, everybody else. Those are the lifeboats.
Yeah.
And Vince and Russo and whoever is put in charge is just Captain Smith going, Wash getting deep. Oh boy. And let me also say this. The episode begins with something that Vince Russo and I agree on.
Wow.
And that is the only thing kinda that Vince Russo and I will ever agree on. Because I don't like Vince Russo. I agree with Jim Cornette about Vince Russo 1,000%. Every word he says. Not only was he overrated, not only can he read, not only can he not write, but he's kind of a piece of garbage.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you, if you were watching that episode and you heard a loud rumble and you were like, what was that? But it was quick, but you're like, it's fine. That was my eyes rolling in the back of my head when he said, because I'm a proud Italian man. And you don't tell me that I could take for granted. Shut the fuck up, Vince. God, you're such an idiot. But what he said at the top about there are no good people in wrestling. Why? Because wrestling is a shark tank and you have to become a shark or you get eaten. He's not wrong.
No.
But problem is while he's saying that, you're a fucking shark, dude.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
And this is a guy who had no respect for the wrestling business. Never did. He saw it as one big Jerry Springer episode. That's how he wrote it. And he just saw not them as athletes, but as actors that he could, pitch the stupidest, goofiest shit possible. And because some of it worked in the WWE, he wants to take all responsibility for the Attitude Era. And thought he could do the same thing in WCW because he conned somebody else into giving him a job. Wrong Vince. Yeah. So Bash at the Beach 2000 with Russo, it was, he's a piece of garbage. I've never had any respect for him because he never had any respect for wrestling. But and him just listening to him, just how he puts qualifiers and everything, man. Vince, I want to raise because I want to move closer to my family. And Vince goes, I'm paying you enough money, just hire a nanny. You don't tell an Italian this and that. Hey, Italian man, what does that have to do with big bang? But shut the fuck up, Vince. Yeah, but and again, he qualifies everything. What does that have to do with being Italian? If you were, if you weren't, if your argument is just like I want to move closer to my family, and I didn't like that he said the hire a nanny, then that's it. It don't have to be, Italian to get that. I guess that's because we would have been behind you on that one. It was like that's kind of a shitty thing to say, but then you're like Italian, bro, and I'm like, all right, never mind. Yeah, but the bash itself. I mean, we're leading up to this, and the way he had, he felt like he was in touch with the wrestling fans to a point because, we didn't want to see Hulk Hogan anymore. I didn't want to see Hulk Hogan anymore. The problem with Hogan coming... You don't want to say FUMB Terry Bollea anymore? No. Oh. But the problem with Hulk Hogan coming to WCW in the first place in 94 was... fans weren't watching. That's the reason why WCW wasn't watching WWE, because they were sick of the Hulk Hogan crap. And now we're going to bring the Hulk Hogan crap to WCW and have him beat guys that we've always loved, like Ric Flair and and all the WCW guys that we grew up liking, and we didn't want him here. So then he reinvents himself in the NWO, and just like everything else with Hogan, that gets old fast. Especially if Hogan's going to put himself on top all the time. So, while in theory, I like the idea, okay, we're going to get some new blood in here, but we don't have to have it one group against the old group. And if you want to do, have the WCW guys against the older established wrestlers instead of, the old versus new or whatever. Or the guys that people want to see. I mean, because Mike Awesome was in that group that the new people, that wanted to, that Vince Russo thought fans wanted to see. And there's ways to get the guys over without putting this whole group against a whole nother group. That was why the NWO angle, while incredibly successful, faded out fast because, you're dividing up your entire base. And just the idea that, I mean, first of all, putting anyone with eyes can see that Booker T was the future. We've talked about on this very podcast. When you've seen tag teams, you know who the guy is in the tag team.
Oh God, yeah.
Heart Foundation, you knew it was Brett.
Oh yeah.
And
Sorry,
just
Jim.
like Steiners, you knew it was Scott. And Harlem Heat, you knew it was Booker T. Booker T was the guy in Harlem Heat. Great tag team, but you knew Booker T was the guy.
Oh, yeah.
And when he went solo, the fans knew it too. So the idea of putting the belt on Booker T is a good one. Problem is Hulk Hogan, along with everything else. Was always the problem. But getting the belt off him was going to be the tough part. But coming up with the idea of, hey, we're going to make it so the angle would be Hogan's going to invoke his creative control so he can win, and Jarrett's not going to go for it. So for making it more like for the smart fans rather than people that are watching on TV, again, you're exposing the business. You're making us, the audience, look like idiots. And the idea that Hogan's going to invoke his creative control, this is during a match, and Jarrett's not going to like it, so Hogan's going to win because he has say on all of his final booking. And he's going to be so angry he leaves with the belt. And then there's going to be a tournament, and Booker T's going to win it. But then Hogan's going to come back and say, hey, I'm the champion. That was the idea that apparently everyone agreed on. That's the stupidest fucking shit I've ever heard. Even stupider because let's say that Hogan went along with it and everything went according to plan. And Booker T won the championship, but Hogan comes back and says, no, I'm the real world champion. Hogan was never going to put Booker T over, no matter what scenario.
No, because let's start at the beginning. Because he was a black man. You're laughing, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, Craig. You're a black man.
That is true. That's very true.
I know you've heard the audio too.
But but Hogan was never going to put over Booker T.
No.
Anyway, so this whole thing was doomed to fail right away. But the fact that they thought that would be everyone agreed to that was the most incredulous thing I heard from Bash at the Beach. But you watched it live. I only heard about this in the newsletter or on the internet the next day. So what did you think, seeing now that you know the inside story of what happened at Bash at the Beach 2000?
Well, let me start this by saying something you said also. I didn't learn, fuck all new. What a waste of time. And that's not a negative thing to say about Vice TV and what they did. It's not their fault that everybody talks about this. No, I didn't learn anything new. All I did was waste my time for 44 minutes and some odd seconds listening to Vince talk longer than I wanted to. Get that back. Mm-hmm. All I remember from that show, if you ask me without seeing that, is, man, Jarrett and Booker had a great match.
Yes.
All I remember watching that live is thinking, I think that's real, but I don't know anymore. And, I never saw Hulk in WCW again, so I was happy in a pig in mud, so that's fine too.
Yeah.
But my agreements with Vince Russo start and end at because Hogan was a piece of shit.
Yeah. And
the fact that I even side with Vince because of we got to get that off Hogan like now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick to my stomach. God, it was a waste. Like I had all these things to say. That's a stupid idea. So you covered that. Stupid idea to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Hogan, we should have been moving on from that.
Yeah.
The new blood stuff was okay for about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Debatably. And then it was just, let's just get back to the original, placement of cards. Who gives a shit? I don't.
But the whole crux of the whole thing, and Nash even said it when they were talking about the NWO. Why would you give a wrestler creative control? Like, ever? And it's Kevin Nash saying it was a bad idea.
The dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Yeah. But WCW, we'll get Hulk Hogan. Sure, we'll agree to anything, Hulk. Not knowing how this would come back to bite him in the ass 6 years later. But yeah,
there's no denying
mm-hmm.
that Hogan coming to that company gave Turner the boost to finally make a profit, and Bischoff.
Yeah.
Full credit.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to Bischoff and Hogan.
Yeah.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Getting stale and having you go over all the guys that I grew up watching, don't care. They made up with it. They made up for it with the NWO thing, and that quickly became quicker than I remember. But at this point, I was so tired of Hogan. It's weird because in retrospect, watching it live, you're saying, yeah, okay, Vince, good shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, I mean, which do you prefer? The bowl of poop or the bowl of diarrhea? That's what we got stuck with. For what? I didn't do anything to earn that at that age. Booker T should have been on top longer than that. That dude and Benoit
mm-hmm.
and all those mid-card guys, air quotes,
mm-hmm.
carried Nitro.
Yeah.
From 90, I'll say 97 on to when they all bail, or most of the bail. Because at the height was this NWO stuff, but really all that what we called filler, air quotes, back in the day was what you really wanted to watch.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest pop that Jericho ever had was in a Cruiserweight Battle Royal.
Yep. I will never not mention that. Your Exhibit A.
Yeah.
That.
Dead fans are going.
Hi, I want to offer promotion of your channel. Spam. See you later. It's frustrating to me all these years later to be talking about this and to give Vince Russo any publicity on that at all. And to give him any credit, because halfway through the episode, I'm like, do I agree with Vince? Shut up. Shut up. No, again, it was he should have never been running a company. He should have never been in charge of any booking at all. Bischoff should have never been fired. For all his faults, Bischoff at least could book a television show, debatably.
Yeah.
Should have never been given into the hands of anybody who wasn't a wrestling person to begin with. And as far as running it. And I know we make fun of Dusty and the Dusty finishes and the Dusty booking. It's the Dusty, baby.
Yeah.
Not Vince fucking Russo.
Yeah. And Dusty, for all of Dusty's finishes, Dusty knew how to get guys over. Dusty knew that if you put the right guy in the right spot, Magnum, Sting, Luger, you can make a lot of money and draw ratings. And it's really not and we say it on this podcast where it's really not that hard to create a new star or to make someone new that's not an old established vet. It's called consistency. And it's not putting Billy Kidman beat Hulk Hogan. But all anyone remembers is Kidman selling his ass off for 8 minutes, pinning Hogan at the end, and Hogan beats the shit out of him after the match is over. And
then what? And then nothing happened with Kidman.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about with consistency.
Back to the fucking shit mid card.
Yeah. And AEW does the same thing. You'll get one guy will get a huge pop over and then we won't see him for a month.
The best thing that happened recently was between two old guys.
Yeah.
And that was Tully wiping the face paint off Sting.
Yeah.
Who are never going to hold a title in that company. And they're never going to be anything. And I don't mean this derogatorily. Yeah, well, that'll count. Sounds right. In a derogatory manner either, between Tully and Sting, two of my favorites. Tully's been on this show.
Mm-hmm.
They're B players in that story.
Yeah.
Sometimes A, because nobody cares about the A players. I don't give two flying fucks about Darby Allin for more than one reason. One of those is, well, just Google Darby Allin and sexual assault and start there, work your way forward. Yeah, but Tully did cocaine. Tully never raped anybody.
Nope.
Basically, the simplification of this is you have two monstrous, idiotic fucking assholes playing dick measure, and the only people that suffered were the fans that were watching the product and the workers who all lost their jobs later.
I know it wouldn't have happened, and because of the protocol, I would have liked to have heard from Booker T in this. We heard from Jarrett,
dude,
Lance Storm, but I would have loved to have heard from Booker T, just on his side, because I know he didn't have any dealings with. I know as far as he had his dealings with Russo and Bischoff, he's probably the only one that he got along with fine with both of them, because they both knew that Booker T was the future, and that, seeing how the fans reacted to him, he was a guy that, you could count on. And he was always, he didn't have any bad habits. He never badmouthed anybody. He got along with everyone.
Again, carried the company for the 3 prior years.
Yes.
Least you could do is give him a fucking title.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the television title, by the way.
Or United States Championship.
Well,
But
that one's fine.
I would have liked to have heard his take on that night, and what he was told and how he was told, with the Hogan and the everything. So I
don't give a fuck what Jeff Jarrett thinks about it. Yeah. I know what Jeff Jarrett thinks about it. Why did we not get Booker T's? Is he still signed with? He's not signed with WWE anymore, right?
Yeah, he did the SummerSlam pregame commentary. He's commentating on NXT right now.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But maybe one day. But yeah. So
I let's see if I can. Let me do a live search here. In the latest episode of Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T talked about the recent Dark Side of the Ring episode covering WCW Bash at the Beach 2000. That's all Hulk Hogan. We definitely got to talk about Bash at the Beach 2000, the infamous night that I won the World Heavyweight Championship. The thing is, I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't give any quotes or anything. I think they reached out to me about wanting to be a part of it, and I think I declined it, just like I've declined all the other times they've called me for that, just because I don't want to be part of anything negative. I don't want to be part of somebody's downfall or anything like that. Somebody's bad times, anything like that. It's hard to not do his voice because he's got a unique voice, and that would be bad cricket at this point. I think that's what these shows are pretty much built around. It's always, I don't think in Dark Side of the Ring thing, it's that there's never any like bright light at the end of the tunnel. Well, I mean, Booker, with all due respect, sir.
Yeah.
And I mean that sincerely. sincerely, pardon, there isn't a lot of fucking bright light in wrestling.
Yeah. And that was
Sorry.
a bad time in wrestling as a black guy for wrestling. But he came out okay.
Treated.
You know, if anything, it was a vote of confidence that everyone to a man wanted you to have the belt.
Yeah. I believe that took place.
Yes.
That conversation. That is the one thing, that's one of two things that Russo said that I was like, all right, yeah, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I respect his decision not to talk about it because if anything, his reasoning, I don't want to talk about, bad things or how it cost someone his job. He's probably embarrassed because I'm sure that's not how he wanted to win his first.
Sure. And I got more if you want to put more perspective on it from Booker.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, even on my greatest triumph, winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, I declined to be part of that episode just because, like I say, just totally leaves a bad taste in the mouth. But the thing is, I want to talk about it as far as truth compared perhaps untruth, just because I was there. And I can only give my perspective on how I felt as far as the situation and everything was going on Jeff Jarrett's role in the episode. Well, you know what? Who cares? Well, man, as you did, I didn't know a lot of the whole thing. I'm just thinking about body language, stuff like that. Jeff was told to go in there and lay down for Hogan because Hogan pulled his creative control card. Booker T on what doesn't add up for him. Now, Vince Russo said they had talked about this whole thing before the show even went off. It was written this way as far as him going out, cutting the promo on Hulk Hogan, throwing the belt at Hulk, winning and leaving and whatnot. All that was in the script. Hogan knew it. Bischoff knew it. Everybody in the upper echelon, they knew it. Now, Eric said none of that is true. Hulk said none of that is true. To the point, Hulk Hogan actually filed a lawsuit against Vince Russo. And it got thrown out because it was based around characters, Hogan, Vince Russo, all characters under wrestling banner and whatnot. A lot of that seems very, very sketchy as far as I'm concerned. One thing that really intrigued me was this is something that I wouldn't imagine that happened. Eric said that after Hulk Hogan won the belt from Jarrett, they left the building because everyone was supposed to know. And then again, Eric said they didn't know. Okay, this is the point that gets me. Eric said after Hulk Hogan did the deal with Jeff, him and Hogan left the building. They went to the bar and they were toasting some drinks. And the next thing you know, they realized Russo is cutting his promo. And now that Vince Russo cut his promo, Jeff and I are now going to wrestle for the championship. Now, I've never seen the Bucks leave the building before the lights go off. That's just something that just really, really makes me wonder, is that true or not? That Eric and Hogan left the building with Russo still there with a hot mic. That part there makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, if he would have become WCW heavyweight champion and Vince Russo didn't do what he did. I watched Hulk Hogan when that thing happened in the middle of the ring, all right? The look on his face, there's no way Hulk Hogan knew what was going on. There's no way. Well, I agree with that because Hogan's not that good of an actor.
No.
I didn't read the next line. Booker literally says that. He's not that good of an actor. Thank you, Booker.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman.
Yes.
It's no way. And then to hear Vince Russo tell that story that everyone knew, I'm going to tell you, I didn't know anything. So the thing is, to this day, that secret has been kept as far as everyone knew about it. It's no way a story like that could be kept this many years in professional wrestling. Booker, come on, man. There's no freaking way. Yeah, man. There's so much more about this.
Yeah.
Fuck. All I'm saying is it was a waste of Vice's time. It was a waste of my time and yours. There's nothing that we gleaned from this that was new. It was two assholes having a dick measure contest because their egos couldn't fit in their heads.
Yeah.
That's it. Booker got lucky.
Exactly. And Lance Storm, probably the sanest person in the whole category. Yeah.
I loved him being there. That was so funny to me. And I loved the comment he made about Hogan, filing defamation because he made fun of his bald head. But you've been bald for years. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny to me.
Yeah.
your final thoughts on it?
It's a story that
Watch
knowing
that.
knowing the principles involved didn't need to be told, only because we didn't need to hear from two people that we really don't need to hear from anymore. But at the same time, I was curious to know what exactly happened that day. I know that would mean that I have to listen to one or both of them, spend each. And Lance Storm said it best. Two people, or no, Dave Meltzer, I'm sorry, said it best. Two of the worst people on earth they're talking about one of the worst days in wrestling history, and hearing each person's version of the truth at the same time. Tough to watch, but when you said I want to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, it's like, oh, I got some thoughts, and it was going to be a good episode. Because out of all of the Dark Side of the Rings that I want you to watch, I mean, I want you to watch all of them, but that one,
Sure. No, we'll do a final retrospective. It just, was just, ugh.
I get it.
I don't have the words.
Well, there are no words.
It's just fucking stupid. Waste of everyone's. It's so stupid.
Well,
who fucking cares, Vince Russo?
The tonight's episode will be a fun watch when you get around to The World According to Marty Jannetty. This season, and I don't know if there's going to be another season. If there is, I wish they would just go back to certain incidents. Sadly, I think they've covered all the top ones. Ones I wanted to, the Montreal Screwjob, Gina Hernandez, The Flight. Those are the ones that I was most interested in. The best one this season has been the Graham brothers, and that's only because of the history of Dr. Jerry and Eddie and the horrible legacy that the Grahams have left behind. And it's called Breaking the Cycle, which is a great, and it's probably, Dan, the only episode that ends on an upbeat note, because we see the granddaughter of Eddie Graham talking, but still the
sorry, I'm sorry, it's terrible timing. In a timely manner. Yeah, I did notice that was up there, and I forgot that was an episode. I'm like, oh, I really want to watch that. I really want to hear their story, especially Mike Graham, because I think he was unfortunately passed like 2 years before I heard about it.
Yeah.
So when the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh. The fight between the group of crackers and the African American gentleman.
The Alabama Showdown.
The Alabama Showdown.
It's been
try that
in a small town.
Try that in a small town. Yeah, we did. We got our asses kicked.
What happened? I said, go. Jason Aldean had a good run, and then we gave you a month, white folks, and
yeah, you wanted your month, you got it.
You got it. And I know they were listening to that on the boat, and they got all pumped up, and yeah, see how far that lasted.
The chair shot is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen. But just seeing this still frame of the gentleman in the beard and the glasses standing against the rail, looking up at the camera while the dudes get smashed with the chair. That's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
It's been
good.
It's only been 3 days, but it's been put to music. It's been reenacted several times. It's been repeated over and over again. It's been TikTok to death. I mean, in 3 days. This happened on Sunday, and it's still everywhere. I honestly, God, can't believe how this has taken off.
I absolutely can. I can.
There was a guy. I posted a picture of a guy with a metal folding chair attached to his hip, And he said it's because I'm in an open carry state, so he's allowed to carry the metal folding chair.
That's good. That's very good too.
Yeah, so I had no idea. This brought out so much creativity in so many people.
What's
Did
the
you
other
see-
one? There was a picture in the was it the African American Museum
Mhm.
of the chair just on display.
On display, yeah, next to Harriet
See
Tubman.
the lighting.
But have you seen it with the Jim Ross commentary?
No.
Because they had when they or the end game meme where they're all the
Yes, that one
they're
I've seen.
yeah.
On your left.
Kind of fair, but it's like, oh god. And then when the guy comes out of the war, it's like, shh, business is picking up, and the glass break, and you see them coming. Yeah, you gotta listen to the rap song. It's already been put to music. Yeah, just everything. I guess what's got galvanized everyone about it is because we've seen so many times, and it's just and because I'm very old, seen it throughout history, a gang of white people jumping on a black person. You never see, the
On your left.
we've seen the fucker, we never seen the find out part.
Yeah.
That's what's got galvanized everyone. We've seen the fuck around part, but we've never seen
It's the
find
look
out.
on the dude's face before the chair makes contact.
Yeah. Or just the two guys the two overconfident white guys that came out from under the bleachers, and then they saw the swarm coming towards them and think, a good run is better than a bad stand any day.
It's so funny to me. The only thing that was as funny was the video of the Boston cop going down that slide to the In the Air Tonight drum solo. God, he slid 400 yards.
Yeah.
Kept going.
That hurt.
The action park shit I've ever seen.
Class Action Park.
Classic. Oh God. I do want to say this that I just found out.
Yeah.
The one mention of modern wrestling today, Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk more about SummerSlam next week since that was our scheduled thing.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch SummerSlam?
So, yeah. Well, I watched the replay because as I saw who won the cash in that was happening, I was like, I'm in. And oh God, I can't. I'm blanking. Sorry, Dakota Kai came back for that moment.
Yeah.
Just so they were all together.
Mm-hmm.
She said that she didn't wake up until 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, got a text from Bailey saying, we need you here at SummerSlam. She arrived to the airport at 5, didn't take off till 7, arrived at Ford Field as Drew and Gunther were going on.
Wow. Rushed
her in, kept her covered with clothing, out to the ring. That was from her on her stream.
Jeez.
She's still dealing with a bad injury and coming back from that.
Yeah.
EO winning the title, do a cash in. Bianca's not going anywhere, so I'm not upset. That I can't wait to see more of that. But what an incredible moment, considering literally 2 episodes ago we were talking about what the fuck are they doing with Damage Control.
Yeah.
One's champ now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Keep them the 3 horsemen. Thank you very much.
Well, you can tell now that the boss has been called into court again and has an unexplained spinal injury, but you see how well things are being set up now. You got Nakamura potentially going in a feud with Seth. You got The Miz and LA Knight. You got Rhea being
what a pop, by the way.
Yes. But again, this is all Triple H. You see how he's running. He's going with the hot hand here. And Miz versus LA Knight, even if they just talk the whole time, because their promo was fire from both of them, and it hit home. It hit home on both of them. So you could see the progression and you're giving Imperium some wins finally, so they can. And Gable versus Gunther. Gable's not going to
What
win.
a
But
novel
man,
idea that is.
that's going to be a great match.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, that's all. Now we know who's back in charge. I was double dipping on Saturday. I was watching Collision while on television while I was looking at SummerSlam on my iPad.
Collision on television.
Yeah. And that was it's a shame because that was Collision's best 2 hours on Saturday, but they got killed in the ratings. But again,
Can't
great.
imagine why.
Yeah, great to see Ricky Steamboat, FTR, Dennis Condrey.
Tully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that SummerSlam was fantastic.
That it was.
I always forget how big they've made it now. Not that it hasn't always had that name to its that power to its name, but that it is that big now. Is delightful. It's delightful. Craig,
sir,
I think we're going to call it there. I think we're going to save the historian for next week.
Okay.
And talk fully about SummerSlam.
Yes.
Because I's tired. Me tired.
I understand. I's tired and D's is tired.
We D's nuts?
Yes.
Yeah, shaved my nuts for this. Craig, where can people follow you?
They can follow me and my shaved nuts on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at Craig Ligons, CraigLiggeons.
And you can follow me and my shaved at Tanlaw83, all social media platforms, and that includes Hive and Threads. I don't know about the rest of them. I'm not putting more time into more social media. At this point, if it goes belly up, bye. I don't have time anymore. I'm starting to get tired of it now, just now.
I get it.
Just now.
Just now.
Yeah. For Craig Ligons, I am the above average comedian. Keep it on the paper.